Hey, folks. Um, so few a couple of weeks ago, maybe some. I found a big bag of corn chips on the street, still sealed, so it was full. Now I've eaten most of these chips, and um, and I brought it home, and I normally um, when I get something like this. A lot of times so most of my diet that I actually buy in stores is fluid dairy products, either milk or cream. And a lot of times when I get sometimes I do somehow acquire other foods, like in this case, these chips. A lot of times I'll put them in my milk, in the milk, um, either straight into the nozzle or I'll use a big funnel and break them up and push them down in. But occasionally I will buy other ingredients to make another dish that uses whatever food I've somehow acquired that I didn't buy in a store that's not milk or cream, like the chips in this case. And I'm going to show you what I did with these chips. It's been, I would even say, delicious. It's really been quite good. I'm pretty old. I'm 64, and I have done a fair amount of cooking in my life. So I'd say I'm good at it. So what I'm going to do is take a skillet. This obviously was used, as it so happens, for what I'm going to show you. And I'm going to melt this cheese in it. This cheese is blocks of white cheese in a salty brine. And I'm going to use cream in the skillet so that the cheese won't melt and kind of burn onto the skillet. To open this, you actually take a screwdriver. The directions are printed on the container. Hey, while I'm thinking of it, I may say something mistaken or incorrect or in this video, and I'll write it in the description below. Or I may say something, I may want to add something I didn't think of, um, or forgot to say. But to open this, you take a screwdriver and put it in the little gap between the cap and the rest of the container. Kind of work it up, and then I get my fingers in there and just pull it off. It's a pretty tight fit, so that's off. And I'm going to take some cream. This is going to be a very imperfect sort of cooking demonstration because I can't move my camera. So you're going to see steps of it. You're not going to see the whole thing, and that's quite regrettable. It I hope I can explain it sufficiently. It's not a very complicated thing to make, but you can still do it. There are still some subtleties to it. Oh, I got the wrong cream. I have two of these quarts, and this is the unopened one. Let me go get the open one. Okay, so this one has already been opened. It feels a little over half full, and I'm going to pour some in. So I don't have many chips left. I'm going to try to calculate the right amount of cheese to melt to go on those chips or to go with them. So I'm going to pour that in to that's going to sort of cover the bottom of the skillet. I'm going to cap that. And then I'm going to take this cheese and it's in, let's see, there's one big block of it. So I'm going to break off chunks and kind of crumble them into the skillet, um, like so. That's as small. eventually as I cook them, I'll break those up into smaller chunks. But doing this one-handed while the other hand holds, I can only break them up so much. And I'm kind of estimating the right amount, I think, well, that I have space for in my stomach, which actually might not use all those chips. It'll come close, but might not be all. So I'm gonna break that cheese, maybe a little more. That's about what I think I have room for to eat right now. I'm gonna put the cap on, and I'm gonna go. So I'll put that on a fire, low to medium fire, and I'm gonna cook it. And I'll have a spatula to kind of move the cheese around, and I'll break it up more. Um, and as the cream will kind of boil away a bit and cook away a bit, and I'll keep adding, I think, bits of cream. And that's sort of a feel thing. I can watch it and I can see when I think it's maybe close to burning. I maybe keep it pretty on the full side. Um, Compared to other people. I might put a little more cream than others might. Um, I'll try to bring it in a few times to show you what it looks like. And when I add the cream, it can be quite small bits. So let me go do a little cooking. So I got that on. I got that chopped up a bit more with my spatula. And I'll tell you, the way I started cooking with cream like this is in the past, I think I would have melted some butter and then melted the cheese in the skillet in melted butter. But then I realized butter is made from cream that's churned, so why not just use the cream? Kind of cut out the middle step. Um, One nice thing about us cooking with cream is nothing, you can set the spatula down and the cream doesn't run on either side. This is some cheese mixed with cream, but it doesn't run, so that it your workspace stays a little nicer, I think. As soon as I got it on there, I kind of felt like it needed a bit of cream, so I'm going to put just a bit in there. And that's just a feel thing. That's individual, I would think. As I do this, I'll be watching it, and when I think it needs some, I'll put in whatever I think it needs. It might a little more, a little less, um, and it should work out. Most of the time I don't burn it. Yesterday I actually burned it a bit. I think you even maybe saw some brown in the skillet. So we'll see how it goes today. I think part of it was I cooked with less cheese and consequently used less cream, and it burned a bit. But it didn't taste. That didn't ruin it. Um, I mean, it's basically salt, cream, and cheese. It's really good tasting ingredients, and it'd be really hard to ruin it. And I put some papers there because I would anticipate showing you a skillet that's going to be hot on the bottom, so I'm protecting the tray. I think I'll just show you this step. I got the cheese off the fire. I'm gonna take these and basically crumble them into this bowl and break them up pretty nice. Basically, once that cheese is melted, I'm going to pour the cream and cheese, whatever cream's left, plus the melted cheese onto this and mix them, and that'll be really nice. It'll taste quite good. But I do want to tell you, there's other ways to combine this. So these chips are a little bit past their best by date, a couple of months past, which doesn't mean they're bad. they're, it means they're not at their best, but I'm okay with that. Most of the time, I eat fresh food that's well within its best by date. Occasionally, not. Um, a best by date is different than expiration date. If food is expired, I generally wouldn't eat it. But if it's past its best by date, I might because I don't have to get it at its best 100% of the time. But I think the fact is that by being past its best by date, these have dried out of or gotten a little stiff. So in this case, I'm going to dump them. I'm going to dump the cream and cheese on them and mix them all together to maybe soften up the chips a bit. But another way to do it, if the chips were fresher, another way to do it would be once you got the cheese melted in the cream to maybe crumple it on top of the cheese and cream in the skillet and not mix because you wouldn't need them to get moisturized as badly. I don't know. There's different ways to combine these, but in this case, I'm gonna try to juice them. Quote, I'm gonna try to liquefy them a little by thoroughly mixing them. And actually, that's gonna finish out the pack. So I'm gonna throw the bag away. And I happen to have and well, let me take that. Let me refrain from what I was going to say. I think it might be too confusing. Um, so I'm going to leave that there and go work on the cheese and the cream. Let me pause this. Folks, I had said that this you could see brown in the skillet from when I slightly burned the cheese yesterday, but I'm not sure. I think even if I didn't burn what's in the pan, I think I might get brown on the edges like that because I don't always wash the skillet between when I make it, and some of that's probably from that brown stuff is from 4 or 5 times of making this dish, so it just got brown um, from being cooked over and over. But the part I'm actually using, I do scrape off some of that and you eat it, but most of what I'm using is in the skillet, and most of the time I haven't burned it. Yesterday I did a bit. Now I've got that. Unfortunately, I can't show you too well because my camera won't bend too well. That cream is pretty spread out so that all the holes are covered, so to speak. There's no skillet showing through. And I'm just adding as I cook. And I'm watching the cheese to see when I think it looks kind of soft. And that's kind of subjective too. I um, and different people might cook it longer or shorter. It's a pretty open thing. I do wish I could show you at the stove. Okay, I finished enough to please myself. There it is. I probably would have cooked it more. I'm a little worried. It does steam a bit when you do this, and I'm a little worried of setting off the smoke alarm. Now I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to spoon it onto the broken up chips. Like I say, if the chips were fresher, maybe I would have crumbled them over the cheese and cream in the skillet and maybe not mix them as much, but it's a little different situation. So I'm spooning this out. Yeah, this will be good because that salt, this is pretty salty from that salty brine. I suppose if you didn't have this kind of cheese available, you could add salt to taste. I mean, chips often have enough salt themselves, I guess. I'm not sure. You'll have to maybe play. Just, it's kind of a feel thing. A lot of cooking is a feel thing. So there's that. Now I'm gonna mix it up. And you kind of note, it seemed like there was some fluid cream in the skillet, but as you mix it up, it there's not really like any kind of loose cream around here. It's all kind of gotten thick enough that it's just combined with the other ingredients. Um, then I'm going to let that cool at least 10 minutes um, before I eat it. Um, this this idea of cooking in cream has been really successful for me. It looks like to me anything you would boil in water, you could cook in cream that way. And I know people may worry about eating too much cream because it is high in cholesterol. And I don't do it very often, so I don't worry. And I'm not even sure if the cream cholesterol is the word, if there's different kinds of cholesterol, maybe the cream cholesterol isn't that bad. But um, the the um, the cream is good. I was thinking another thing with this dish, you could add a lot of different things to it that would probably taste good. Vegetables are what come to mind, and you could boil vegetables in cream, and I think they would boil nicely. I don't recall that I've tried it, but I'm just guessing they would work very well. You'd want to sequence things so whatever you think takes the longest to boil, or you know it from experience, you'd put in first and maybe boil a bit longer, and then whatever takes not as long, you might put in after a couple of minutes. I mean, I'm guessing the vegetable takes the longest, so you put them in and boil them a bit. And then the cheese doesn't take quite as long, so you put that in after a few minutes. And then you get some more boiling of the vegetables and you start the boiling of the cheese. Anyway, I'm thinking of sliced radishes would be good in there or onions. But yeah, anyway, once that cools, it'll be good. I'll eat it with that big spoon. It so happens I'm going to put I did get a couple of these packs of hot sauce, and this might be confusing. I hope people don't get confused because I also am probably going to post a video around this time where I empty these into an actual milk container. And that's something I do too. If I didn't have these chips that I happened to acquire sort of by luck, I wouldn't have made this and I'd be handling these differently. But since did make this dish with chips, I'm going to open up the pack and I'm going to squeeze it out in there. Put that aside. Um, that's for flavor. And I also just I don't like storing food too much. When I have food, I like to use it. Well, this will be good. This is a good addition. But also, I don't like to just save those packs thinking I might get a food later that they would work better with. But they work well with this. The spice will be pretty nice, I think. So that's mixed in. Now just let it cool. Um, and I think it'll be really good. Um, and I can't think, well, by now, well, this skillet, I, I'm kind of hungry actually. Ideally, I do this with the spoon, but what's on the spoon maybe it's pretty hot yet. Let's see. Let's get that cleaned off. And then we can kind of, we got a decent spoonful. That's cooled off okay. Um, and yeah, it tastes good. Um, when you cook something in a skillet and you get the bulk of it out into another container, the little fragments that are left behind do seem to cool more quickly. I guess because they don't have more food on top of them. It's just the very bottom little fragments that are left. They cool. But that's good. The skillet um, is done. These, I actually do try to get this hot sauce eaten. Now, I took a little bit in my mouth from where it was torn, and I held it in my mouth a bit, if you noticed. Um, took it in my mouth, but held it before. You could probably tell when I actually swallowed it. Because when you get this hot sauce on your tongue, it's a bit of a shock. When you take it in your mouth, I like to kind of let my mouth rest a bit before I then. I think I might have chewed that hot sauce. I can't remember. Let me work some of that out. So I got a little more. So I'm waiting. I'm not, I'm just letting it sit on my tongue, and there's some on the roof of my mouth. Yeah. When I was a kid, my parents pointed out to me that a person can chew water, which sounded kind of funny, but it always stayed with me. You know, why would you chew water? Does it actually do anything? But it made me feel like I can chew things that are mostly fluid, which the hot sauce is, mostly water. And in the case of the hot sauce, it's really an advantage, I think. It probably breaks up that heat a little and kind of inserts some saliva in there. Um, so, like I say, I'm letting that bowl cool. Um, I can stir it again. So, when something is cooling, you get it in one, um, you get it in one way and let it cool, and the surface is going to cool more than what's underneath, I think. So if you stir it after a bit, you expose new surfaces that were maybe a little hotter, hadn't cooled as much, and then they'll cool. So I think you can cool it a little faster if you stir it occasionally and kind of rotate it around. But it's probably still a little warm. Just estimating. At some point soon, I'll eat it. So let's see. Sometimes when I get some of that hot sauce, I will start chewing it right away rather than letting it sit like I mentioned. Mm. In that case, I didn't. I let it sit and I let some of my saliva kind of gather to dilute it. I wonder, I sure wish this would get Oh, it's kind of warm on the bottom still. I mean, whatever's on the spoon might be kind of cool. I mean, it's fine. It's good. Those little bits are not too hot, but I think if I take a good sized bite, it'll still be kind of hot temperature wise. I don't mean hot from the hot sauce. Um, I suppose another thing I could do is kind of stab it. It's the same principle. When you stab it, you break it up and expose more surfaces to the air to cool. So that helps it cools faster. And for me, it gives, gives me something to do too. It makes me feel better psychologically, like I'm doing something to make it cool faster. If I didn't say it, do like, comment, rate, etc. Those things are nice for me, but I think they also make YouTube show the videos in better focus. And that's good for everyone, I say. I think you could also, I have a couple of pieces of bread that I'm trying to decide what to do with. Those can probably be cooked in cream the same way. Um, so that'll, I may make that video. That'll be interesting. I don't know if I've cooked bread because bread's a little softer. And maybe, I hope it won't be too soggy, but it'll probably be fine. Well, let me try. Well, this is a bit warm still. I'd probably rather have it on the cool side than the hot, too cool than too hot. Um, these chips, the texture, um, I don't know. I'm chewing them a little kind of tentatively. They, I can't describe it very well, but I think since they're a little stiff, if I chew them too hard and fast, I may scrape inside my mouth, like, because all the little bits have corners. All the little bits of chips have corners. If I chew too hot and fast, I may kind of scrape the corners on my gums and around on the inside of my mouth. So I'm chewing them pretty, a little bit tentatively, a little bit gingerly, carefully. Um, so not everyone would want to cook this way or eat this way. For me, it's okay. I don't do it all the time, but once in a while, it's okay. But yeah, it tastes quite nice. Um, when I chew, I feel like I'm not trying to bite all the way through the potato chip or the corn chip. I'm trying to sort of, I think, sort of bend the chip because if I, um, it's really hard to articulate. You might just have to, well, I mean, I wouldn't wish this on anyone to use chips after their Best By date, but you could find yourself in that situation. Even your chips could get old at home. Um, but It's possible when they're, yeah, I can't articulate that. I don't, because I haven't, I can't think how it is to chew chips that are within their best by date. They, they break a little better, I think, when you chew them. It's strange. These are stiffer and drier, and yet maybe they don't break as well as fresher chips. I'm not sure. I think if you try it with the idea that you're just kind of carefully pressing on them, and your saliva will keep softening them. Yeah. Um, anyway, probably most people, if they even cook this, would use fresher chips, but it's really quite possible to eat these older ones and enjoy this dish. So I guess I'll get another bite. It may be the fresher chips dissolve a little bit more in your mouth, so maybe you can bite through them more easily. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated. It's not that big a deal, but I am changing a little bit how I chew them from, I can't recall making this with fresher chips, but I think it's a little different how I chew. One thing that maybe would be obvious is when you're cooking, if it starts to burn, add more cream and move it around a bit with your spatula. I would say don't panic because even if this gets a little browned and sort of, I mean, a little brown because the level of cream went down a little too much, it's not going to ruin it. And you can take it off the fire and add some cream. You can scrape any brown stuff. You can scrape off with your spatula too, and it tastes okay in the final dish. Yeah, when I said if it starts to burn, you can add more cream, and even you can take it off the fire. Probably taking off the fire is your last option, but it would only be brief, I think, and let it just cool enough and get some cream and kind of stir it around. Get the part that's burning off the bottom of the skillet, kind of stir it all up so that other parts are at the bottom, um, and then return it to the fire. But it might not even be necessary, just adding more cream and kind of moving it around.